Okay, this is a database question. It's actually a really good one to work through because it's very different to a lot of the others that have been that we've looked at. But as long as you work through the question slowly and think about it, it's actually not bad at all. So let's have a look at the question. A database table train, so we've got the name of the table here, is to be set up for a railway company to keep a record of the engines available for use. Each engine has a unique number made up of 5 digits, N. The engines are classified as freight or passenger, together with a power classification that is a whole number between 0 and 9, for example, F8. The railway company keeps a record of the date and last service for each engine. First question, identify the 3 fields for the database. Give each field a suitable name and data type. Provide a sample of data you could expect to see in the field. So everything we need is in the question here. So starting from this bit here, each engine has a unique number made up of 5 digits. So I think that would be our first field. Engine number. So the data type that we're looking for this, it says a unique number made up of 5 digits. Digits are numbers, and it even says there number. Interestingly, in the mark scheme, it says text, and technically, that you could, it's you can class a number as text, but it depends if we need it as a number, and I don't think it really matters. So it can be text, or you could store it as a number. I suppose you'd only really need it as a number if you were going to be doing any sorts of calculations with it. So because we're entering it as text, and we're just using it to identify the differences between each engine, then text is fine. Okay. So a sample of data could be, so it's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right. Next field we're looking for. So the engines are classified as freight or passenger, together with a power classification, which is a whole number between 0 and 9. For example, F8. So that would be a freight train with a power classification of 8. So we could call it power class. In the mark scheme, they call it class. I'm going to call it classification. And the data type for this is going to be text. So it's a combination of a letter and a number. They've given us an example there, so we can see what it is. So text, and I'm sure we could copy that one. It's not incorrect, but let's go for P4. Okay. So we've got our F or our P, and then our number between 0 and 9. Okay, field number 3. Record company keeps a record of the date of the last service. So we could call it, the mark scheme calls it service date. We could call it last service. So I'll go with service date. Okay, data type for this one. So we know within a database, date is an actual data type. Okay, and then a sample could be, so the last service could have been, let's say they had it in January, so it could be the 3rd of the 1st, 19. Okay. State the field that you would choose as the primary key. So they've told us in the question, actually, we come back, so it's worth rereading it again. Look for the word unique. So each engine is a unique number, so we have to use engine number. Or you may even make up another field that you could add to it, which wouldn't be incorrect, as long as you said why you chose that field. But they have given it us in the question here. Okay. Right. Next, we've got a query by example. So this one's a bit different because we don't have, a table of information to go on. We're constructing it from this. Let's have a little look. Use the query by example grid below. Write a query to identify all passenger engines that have not been serviced in the past 12 months. Only display the engine numbers. Okay, so write a query to identify all the passenger engines. So we need that have not been serviced. So the only way we can identify the passenger engines is with the engine number. So we know we need engine number. The table, we know it's called train. And it actually does say here, only display the engine numbers. So let's do that. So that gets us one of the marks. All the passenger engines that have not been serviced in the past 12 months. Passenger engines. So passenger engines leads us to our field here. So if we look back, engines are classified as freight or passenger. So we used our classification field here. And we want to have just the P's. Okay, so within a database, if you are trying to pull out something where you don't have the full, so we can't say passenger. We can't just put P, because if you remember, the data would be something like P4, P5, P6, P7. So what we do is we say like, then in quote marks, put what we're looking for. So this is the bit we know we want. Then replace anything you don't know with a star. That's a wild card. So we're basically saying we want, in our criteria, we want anything that starts with P. Doesn't matter what comes after it. So that will just return all of those. Okay, lastly, we need to know the engines that haven't had a service in the last 12 months. That means that they had to have their last service over a year ago. So we've got service date, so we can put that in. And it's from the table train. And see, I forgot to put that in there. I'm sure some of you were shouting at the screen there. So how are we going to find out if a service hasn't happened in the last 12 months? So if it hasn't happened in the last 12 months, that means it had to have the service over a year ago. So if we say, if we have the date, we want to see anyone with a service that was less than, so it's July, no, it's not even July, it's May 2000, talking about the July exam. So we're May 2019. So if it was less than May 2018, that means its service is over a year out of date. So if we say less than the 1st of the 5th and 2018, so that means that we're going to see the trains that had their service over a year ago. So that means the service is late. And that's it. I mean, I'd certainly recommend going through this question and just trying to make sure you can answer it without referring back to the mark scheme. But pay attention to this bit here. This is a wild card. You can replace what you don't know with a star. So we'd say like, and in quote marks what you want. And then also we've got this here where we're using greater than, less than to return a date range outside of, so this is anything over a year ago. Okay, thank you very much.